Hello friends and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be making a custom Mezco 112 style Knightmare Joker to go with this Mezco Knightmare Batman. So let's get to it. Okay, so here's a look at the supplies we're going to be using to make this Knightmare Joker. This I got off of GPS slot on eBay, which I've mentioned before, and I'll have a link in the description below. This is like a lab coat, but if I face it this way and close it on the back, I think it's going to look perfect as that kind of hospital gown smock thing that he wears. This is wired, so it is going to allow me to close it, but then I also have this belt tie thing that I'm going to use. This came with these pants. This was from a karate gi that GPS slot also offers. It came with the top half as well. That's off to the side here. These boots are NECA, and I want to say they're from a Terminator figure, like one of the Terminator Genesis Arnold's. I had those in the fodder bin, and they're a pretty good match to what Joker wears in that Nightmare scene. The body is a knockoff Mezco Joker that I've had for a while, and this is kind of finally the perfect opportunity to use it. The hands are from that same knockoff figure, and they already come with the fingers doing the card thing. So I'm just going to have to paint these that kind of yellowish color. Now, this glossy stuff can be really difficult to get paint to stick to, so I'm probably going to spray it with a matte coat first, just to give the paint some texture to adhere to. The vest is from a Deadpool Marvel Legends cable. So, initially I was going to try to make a Mezco style version of him. So I bought the Legends one for parts. I never ended up doing it, so I've had this, and so I'm going to use this. I'm going to cut these straps off though, because I don't want them to be molded plastic, and I'm going to use some of this kind of elastic, like nylon material to make new straps out of it, and that'll give it more flexibility and just kind of go along with the cloth soft goods look. I have some badges that I've salvaged from some NECA T1000s from Terminator Genesis. So these are all tiny little LAPD badges that I'm going to keep a few like this, paint some gold, and then I'll probably make another couple of badges just to round out the look of like the varying kinds. But there's not a lot of surface area space on this, and to cut a badge that tiny, like from scratch, is going to be tough. So I may just see how these all layer on there. I mean, already just 4 of these kind of takes up a lot of the space that I would have. So I think that might do pretty well. This was from, I want to say, a McFarlane Call of Duty figure that I had in the fodder bin. So I'll paint this all black and then add a strap to it out of this same material. I've also got Cable's belt here because I'm going to take this holster and try to stick it to the side of this, because Joker has his metallic kind of purplish pink gun as like a sidearm on this in the photos I've seen, at least from photos of the 1/6 scale figure that's out there. And that's actually a lot of what I use for reference when I'm doing customs like this, is the 1/6 version of them, because you can't always get what you need from pausing the movie, but these companies a lot of times have access to reference material when they're making their figures, and so you can kind of trust that theirs is fairly accurate. And then last but not least, I've got a Jared Leto Joker head. This is from the Mafex Suicide Squad figure. He came with 2 heads, this kind of like smiling, laughing one, and then this guy. So I wish I had the kind of dead-eyed expression where he's like a neutral face, but it didn't come with this. So I'm going to use what I have. And I know in the Snyder Cut version of this, he doesn't have the face tattoos. I'm not going to mess with painting over them, because then I don't have to paint the whole head again, and I don't want to do that. So I think this is going to work just fine. I might brighten up the teeth a little bit with some chrome paint, and I'm going to need to repaint the eyes. Oh, and then of course I'm going to have to add some red around his mouth. He kind of has like Kool-Aid lips in the movie. So one of the challenges right off the bat is going to be to cut this peg, drill a hole into this neck, and then insert that, because as it is, the peg is too long. But once that sits in there, it's going to be kind of the perfect height. So that's how I'm going to handle that. And then the final touch, I'm going to use some green thread and make long hair for him. I don't want to do sculpted hair on this because it just doesn't look as cool, and it's limiting with articulation. But I've done this in the past where I'll take an X-Acto knife and kind of split the thread so that it's into single strands. I had some strands of like some fibers that I had saved for hair. Like I used them on my James Bond custom figure, which is a video you'll see in this channel a few videos back. But I can't find it. I don't know where I put it. I recently cleaned my office and my studio area and reorganized stuff, and I don't know where it is. So I'm going to be using this. It takes a while to cut all these little strands, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. So that'll be going on top here. I'm not going to shave any of this down. He already kind of has the part that I need for it that's sculpted in. So I'm just going to add it on to the head and drape it down. And then the fact that it's already green underneath will help kind of bulk it out so that I don't have to spend forever making, 1,000 little strands of this stuff. Now the outfit is going to need some weathering. I think I'm going to bust out my airbrush for that because it's all stained and dirty and stuff, but then like at the cuff of the pants and the cuff of the sleeves, it's just kind of this like a dirt and grime that kind of fades up into the white. And I think it'll just be easier to approximate that with an airbrush, and it's not super intricate. I don't always like using the airbrush because it's just kind of a tedious thing. You got to clean it and, make sure everything's all oiled and stuff. And I hate messing with all that. But for this one, I think it'll make a better end result. So I'm going to do it. So next up will be the general build of getting the head on the body. And then I'm going to weather the clothing, do up the vest, paint the gun in the hands, do the hair, bada bing, bada boom. Hopefully that's a fairly simple build. Okay, so I just airbrushed the dirt and weathering onto the pants and the coat. Now, unfortunately, this mix had a little bit too much water in there. I was using this Vallejo paint dark wash for like model painting and whatnot. It worked out pretty well through most of it, but it got a little too watered down, and so it did this kind of like ring stain thing. In the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. I might be able to kind of like add some more water to kind of wet that away, I guess, to an extent, but we'll see what it looks like when it dries. It's still pretty wet right now. So the next move is to mix a little bit of yellow in with some of this same dark wash and do stains around like the collar and the shoulders and the armpits and stuff, a little bit on the front, and then also some grime on this belt thing too. I'm looking at photos of the 1/6 scale figure of this, and it's pretty stained up. So that'll be next. I think that'll really help just kind of add to the authenticity of this, and then we'll get going to some of the rest of the details. Okay, quick test fit of everything here. Making new straps for the vest is definitely the move because it doesn't reach all the way back. But this is working out really well to use this lab coat and just turn it backwards. So I'm pretty happy with that. I got the boots to fit by filling the sockets with hot glue and then just sticking the pegs in there, letting it cool. And then you get pretty much full range of motion out of it. And he stands up on his own, thankfully. So I'm working on the hair right now, and this is super tedious. Basically, I'm taking strands of thread and separating them so that they're not so thick. And then I think what I'm going to do is have some that just frame his face on the front, and then I'll use the regular thread. I'll fray the ends so that it doesn't look like a little like mini green dreadlock or something, but so that it'll have this kind of look that you see here. I'm just going to populate the back area with unseparated strands because if I try to do the whole head this way, I'll never finish. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's going so far. I think painting the eyes is really gonna make a big difference because he's just like the thread is a little crimped, so he kind of looks like he's an 80s babe or something. But It is what it is. Like when you're working at this scale, you don't have a lot of opportunity to like. I don't have something to brush that out. But I think when it's all placed and falling the way it's supposed to, it'll look pretty cool. So I'm gonna start gluing this on now, and I'll check in when I have some more done so we can see the progress here. Okay, a little progress update. I repainted the eyes to make them more like open instead of like having the lids semi-closed. You know, he's kind of like crazier looking now. I darkened around the eyes a little bit. I gave him the Kool-Aid mouth, darkened his lips so the color would kind of fade outward from the middle. And then I put some chrome paint on his teeth to just really make that grill pop. And I've been doing the hair. So I'm kind of doing it in layers. Like I did the top, and then you can see I did a layer underneath as well, just to give it that much more realism. And this is going to be the longest part. So I'm just kind of slowly going around and adding it. But the fact that he has green hair underneath really helps because it's kind of bulked out for me and it's the right color, so I don't have to worry too much about like building it out. I can just kind of layer it on the top and it'll get the job done. So gonna keep going, finish the hair, and then the fun part is always the little details for me, like the vest and adding the badges and stuff. So I saved that for last. Okay, workspace is a little messy, but I wanted to check in and show the vest. So I did a couple things to this thing. First and foremost, I changed the straps out for that material we talked about. And then I also added some black fabric to the insides. You know, when I looked at photos of Knightmare Joker, this area was covered. It wasn't just straps. So I glued some fabric to the insides of this. And then I also painted this little carabiner silver. This holster came from the cable belt, and I painted it black because it was previously like an army green, and then painted the rivets. I glued a magnet to the back of it and then put the other magnet on the opposite side just to hold it in place. I figured that would work better than glue. I tell you, these tiny little rare earth neodymium magnets are fantastic. Like, you can just do so much with these things. So I really like them for purposes like this when you can use them instead of glue on stuff. So next I have to add the badges to this. Now I've got a bunch of them painted up, and I found this other little piece I had cut off of some NECA thing. I don't know what it was, maybe something from Alien, but it works really well as like a little sheriff's badge. So I got that. I'm leaving one of these the color that it was, just for variety's sake, and then the rest are painted gold. I also added some blood spatter. You can see here I took some thin red paint and just took the brush and flicked it on there. And then I dabbed the brush in certain areas because the badges that the Joker did have on were covered in some blood. So just wanted to add to that. And by using this kind of little spray technique, it scales the blood spatter really well. So it actually kind of mimics the size that the spatter would be at this 1/12 scale. So these are all going to get glued on. And then other than that, we're pretty much done. I got the hair finished. So that's what it's looking like. And I took a little bit of the dark wash and just kind of did it at the roots just to give it some more depth. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. You know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do and it takes a while, but I feel like the result is worth it. It probably looks a little more crimped and crinkly on camera because of the way it's picking up the light, but to the naked eye, it's pretty well tame. We're just about there, just gonna add the details. I still have to paint the gloves, and then I got his gun painted, so I need to link this up to like a strap so it can go on his shoulder. And then we'll put it all together and I'll show you all the finished result. Here he is, and as I do usually say on this channel, I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. This is my favorite kind of custom to do, where you have a recipe in mind, you know what kind of supplies you have on hand, you have an idea of what it's going to take to make it, and you just put it all together and it comes out how you wanted. This is such a goofy look for the Joker, like the hospital gown, you know, straight jacket thing, whatever it is, the long hair. It's great. It's insane looking, and I guess that's what makes it so cool, because you know it's a very different take than we've seen on the Joker, and I think it's pretty fun. Let me know what you guys think of Jared Leto's Joker in the comments. I actually enjoyed it. I'm not one of those people who hated the first Suicide Squad movie. I thought it wasn't a great movie, but it was fun, and I actually liked his take on the character. I think, Heath Ledger was such an incredible, groundbreaking performance on that there was no way they were going to top it or match it, so you just do something completely different, and I think it worked. I like the sort of gangster Brian Azzarello, Lee Bermejo style take on the character. I thought it was fun. Never was a fan of all the tattoos, but what are you going to do? And again, I did leave those on because I didn't want to try to match the paint. It's very difficult to match white paint, especially, textures and gloss versus matte, etc. So I just leaned into the way that he is. Yeah, again, the hair was a fun way to do this. I really like the look of soft hair on a figure, and in this scale it's hard to do, but I think it's fun, and overall I'm happy with the turnout of it. The most fun I had was working on the vest. I love doing the little detailed bits on customs. I was so stoked that I had like the right materials for it. This is the gun that came with the Mafex Joker, so I just stuck it in the holster that I put on here. And again, that's held on with a magnet, and it's pretty cool, like it can move around, and I could put it on this side if I wanted to, but I think he may have had one on each side in the movie, but I've just got the one gun and the one holster, and I think with this, I don't know, with the M16 or whatever this is, it would have been a little too bulky, too much going on, so I think this is kind of the perfect balance. The fact that, he's already holding the card, and I think it's the same design on the Joker card as what's in the movie too, so that's pretty fun. For this gun, I was going to make a strap like these, but from the figure I was referencing, it looked like he had like a sort of olive green military style one. And then I was going through my fodder bin, and I found that I had this strap that came with a NECA Nathan Drake from Uncharted. It was strapped to his AK-47, so I just took it off, and then I put some jeweler's wire through the clasp here, poked it through on this one, wound it around, and it hangs pretty well. It's something he could hold and shoot if he wanted to. So next up, I'm going to get Knightmare Batman out here and see how they look together. So here we have him with Knightmare Batman. Now this is a diorama that I made about probably a year and a half ago when I got this figure. Shout out to my buddy Josh, who traded me for a custom for this. So I was able to get this guy way after having missed him. And then this figure, this was a McFarlane Call of Duty Ghost figure that I turned into one of the Superman soldiers from BVS. And I'm very happy. I think these two look pretty cool together. Currently, obviously, I have Joker in a pose that's kind of like giving the card to the dead guy, which I think is kind of funny and very Joker-esque. With Batman, I have a small wooden dowel poked into the foam here so that his foot has something to punch into. So I may end up doing the same thing with Joker just to keep him on the display. I may also add another piece to this so that he's got a little more room. Let's try him in another pose here. Okay, and I think this is looking pretty cool. So this may be the way he lives on the shelf. He was a little difficult to stand on the foam, and I actually ended up putting a little wooden dowel in there. And the cool thing is the cards are the same design. Now, I don't know if that's just Mezco reusing them from this figure to their Joker. I assume their Joker came out before this BVS Batman did. I don't know, but the fact that it's the same card, I mean, this is based on the movie, so maybe this one came first. If you know the answer to that, let me know in the comments, but because I'm curious, I know action figure companies like to reuse stuff. But yeah, hopefully this was interesting and entertaining for you to see. Hopefully, maybe this gives you folks some ideas on making your own. Again, I'll put links in the description below on where I got the outfit stuff on eBay, as well as links for the paint that I used. The diorama was made from insulation foam. It's pink insulation foam that I got at Home Depot. I'll have a link for that below as well in case you're curious. And that'll go ahead and conclude this video on this custom Knightmare Joker from the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Everyone's just been so supportive of this channel, and it's growing quickly, and I really appreciate it. It's very fun to share all this stuff with you folks, and I really look forward to sharing a lot more. If you want to see more content like this, I've got a bunch of videos already in the feed and more coming. We're going to be doing more action figures, more custom vehicles, more dioramas. At the beginning of this video, you'll have seen a brief trailer for my graphic novel Count. It is my sci-fi remix of the Count of Monte Cristo. It's full of sword fights and cool action and androids and revenge and justice. That's available through Humanoids. You can find that at Barnes & Noble, at your local comic book shop, and on Amazon, as well as bookshop.org. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, keep your head on swivel.